To start off, would you say and spell your full name?
Sarah Bilder, Sarahbilder.
And is Bilder your maiden name?
No, my maiden name is Buckley, Buckley.
And where are the Buckleys from?
The Buckleys are from a little town, or a little country, I should say. I know it's called Alsace-Lorraine. It's a French kind of combination French. I should know more than that, but I don't. Other than that's kind of the nucleus of where the Buckleys came from.
And any idea what brought them here to the United States?
I don't know generationally how. My dad was adopted, I know that. So no, I'm afraid I did not dig far enough into my family tree to know that answer.
Where were you born?
I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, Barnes Hospital. So St. Louis born and bred, proud of it.
And what was your family like then? What did your parents do for a living?
Well, my dad was in the insurance. Well, I'll back up a little bit. My parents met in college, college sweethearts, Ohio Wesleyan. My mom studied to be a teacher. My dad graduated with a business degree and then moved on to start an insurance, got involved first in the insurance business and later moved to Indianapolis to start a bigger company and just kind of had his insurance company grow. And then with that, he got an opportunity to move here. And so that's how my parents came to St. Louis, was through my dad's insurance business, and he eventually grew it to be quite successful. It's kind of a proud story there.
What was your childhood home like?
So my childhood home was, so we lived in Kirkwood. I don't know how familiar you are with Kirkwood, but it's a lovely area. Even more so, it's kind of exploding now with all the developing and so forth. But when we lived in Kirkwood, it was still your quintessential kind of small town, Norman Rockwell-ish, little old funky stores down in the downtown area. The buildings are still there, but now it's, boutiques and the bigger restaurants and so forth. But we used to go up there every Friday. Was Kirkwood Day. So there was three of us. My brother was 4, my sister was 2, and I was just a baby. My mom used to walk us up to Kirkwood, and that was kind of our day out kind of thing. You asked about my childhood, right?
Yeah. What was your childhood home like?
Yeah. So anyway, those are memories that I remember early on. The Kirkwood thing, and that was kind of something we did as kids. The ice cream store and the Rexall drug, get a 10-cent root beer float. So I went to Kirkwood schools, the grade school, and the junior high, and then high school. My older brother, he's passed now, but he was 4 years older, and then I have a sister that's 2 years older, and then another sister that's 13 years younger. So it's kind of a little step there. But we had a great childhood. We had a place at the lake, or not the Lake of the Ozarks. We had a place down in Steelville, Missouri, near Cuba. It was a kind of a rustic kind of place, but we'd go down there and fish and dive off the dam and sleep outside under the stars and do what kids do, And we had a little dog named Holly. I have very fond memories of my childhood. Just basic going to the penny candy store up the street and, getting now what would cost you $5, you could buy 25 cents worth of candy. Those kinds of things that memories are all kind of flooding back, but it's fun to think about.
You mentioned your mother. What was she like?
Oh, my mother was a sweetheart. I don't know if your mother is still living, but my husband and I were just talking about that this morning. Very full of wisdom, very kind. She had a knack of setting boundaries, but in a gentle way. You knew what your boundaries were, and if you crossed them, you paid a price. But nothing, there was no fear or anything. You just knew maybe you didn't get your allowance or you were grounded or something like that. But just a very loving, very kind. And one thing I would say that I learned probably the most that I've hung on to throughout my life, my mom was very, very conscious of, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And I've always tried to live by that. and never be late. If you commit to something, follow through in your commitments. And if you, I mean, we all have reasons that we can't follow through on something. Then if you have a good, or naturally you would have a good valid reason, be sure to communicate that. Don't just be a no-show. Always be someone you can be trusted and counted on. And that's probably what I bring to my soul and my heart and my mind about my mother. She's only been gone, well, since COVID, so 3 years. It's tough. You really don't miss anybody in your life like you miss your mother. You know, I can just say I've had a brother pass, I've had my father pass, I've had friends pass, but there's something about a mother. You know, it's kind of tough, but it's all good. She taught me beautiful things. So.
Oh, that's a very nice. She taught me beautiful things.
She did teach me beautiful things. So, yeah.
Were you a good student?
I was not a good student. I would say in grade school I was, in junior high maybe, but by high school I became the consummate hippie. I mean, I did. I would skip school. I befriended probably the wrong, group of friends at the time, and that was all about the joking and how can we get out of this class early, and the partying and so forth. But I have good memories of that too, and we're still friends to this day. That was a lot of years ago, so no regrets.
And so when you say you were the consummate hippie, did you listen to a lot of music?
A lot of music, and that's what formed, I believe, my foundation for my music love today. That's my husband and I follow music. We go to festivals. We go to the mountains for a music festival. We just follow music, and if it's possible and we've got the time, we're blessed to have the resources to go and hear good music wherever it might be. We've gone to California, we've gone to Colorado, we've gone to New York. We like all kinds of music, blues and just, I would say, kind of crossover country. I'm not a huge country fan, but like Zac Brown, that kind of Chris Stapleton. That's a big part of our lives is music.
And what is it when you're at a show? What is it that you love so much about it?
I like to listen to, you can see a band up on a stage and there's maybe sometimes 14, 15, 16 band members up there. I like to try and pick out the different instruments. So like, if there's a horn section up there, I love the saxophone and the trumpet and all that. And I try to listen for each one individually and then how they blend together and then how the whole sound is. Each person has a role, you think about it. I absolutely love the piano, so I try to listen for that, and I love a good piano solo. It just sings to us, no pun intended, but the music just feeds what we love. My husband is a big music fan too. It's kind of what brought us together, It just we knew right away that was something we would enjoy together. I mean, even the symphony occasionally, we're open to all kinds of music. Heavy metal, not so much. Other than that, we're open.
You talked about your husband.
Yeah.
How did you meet your husband?
I met my husband. This is kind of a funny story. He had just become single, and his next door neighbor said, if you are interested, I love to matchmake. And if you're interested in meeting someone, I've got a laundry list of women to fix you up with. And my husband at the time owned a very successful, very big, it was an old Best Buy store, so it gives you an idea of the square footage, liquor store, wine store out in West County. So he was having no problem, he's very good looking, no problem meeting women. So he told the neighbor, I'm doing fine right now with the dating. You don't need to fix me up with anybody. Well, then he thought about it, and he approached her out in the yard one day. They were working, and he said, what do you have? I wouldn't mind meeting some of these girls you have in mind. So she fixed him up with the first one, and it was a disaster. And so he went back to her and said, if this is what you have for me, I'm okay on my own. And she said, no. Candidate number 2, her name is Sarah. I think you're going to love her. And that was it. We went out on 3 dates, and he called her and said, you don't need to fix me up with any boy. I found my girl. It was 20 years ago. We've been married for 10, or excuse me, we've been married for, let's see, been married for 6 years. We dated for like, I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. Married for 6 years, dated for like 11 or 12. Dated a long time. He still had a young child at home, and I didn't want to interfere with the raising of him, so we waited till his son was gone, and then we decided to marry and buy a house together, and that's where we are. And I'm really, really kicking myself that I didn't bring him today, because we have some great stories to tell together, but he kind of shied away from it. He doesn't like himself on camera. He's a very good-looking man, but he doesn't like pictures of himself. He gets kind of chipmunky. So he said, "Oh, I don't want to do this." Well, then later on, when I was telling him really more about what was about, he said, "I wish I should have signed up for it." So if there's another opportunity for just him or for couples,
Sounds good.
we'll come back.
So you were a consummate hippie, but you grew up to have a corporate career.
Yeah, I mean, I just finally decided, at some point, to be responsible. I wasn't that irresponsible. It was an experimental time in my life. It was, it was during the 70s, and I mean, it's what you did, But yeah, I just decided it was time to, and my mom had a few words about that too. You might want to decide to figure your life out a little bit. So I did, and gosh.
What did it take to figure your life out? Did that mean go to school or?
Well, I started to go to school. I started to go to college, and I did not finish, and I do have regrets about that. But I decided I just wanted to hurry up and get in the workforce and make some money and pay for my habits. My habits meaning music and concerts, and back then CDs weren't around then, but the long playing, the LPs. I have a collection of the albums that were so popular back then. I can't get rid of them. There's like a memory thing going on there. But anyway, so throughout my life, I had various office jobs, and then probably the one that was, like I said earlier, that created so much more momentum for me was the job at Monsanto. And I got that through a friend who said they're looking for people for administrative, clerical, kind of coordinator type positions at Monsanto. Why don't you come and apply? And that was in 91. So I applied for it. And as you know, things change. They shuffle the deck every 2 years. So I kind of bounced around a lot at Monsanto in marketing. And there was a division called Corn States. There was another project I was on. I loved this one. It was called Farm Optimization. They took data. It's still around, as I understand. Maybe now the German company has it. It was figuring out parameters to help increase crop yields. So weather stations, all the things that go into, and it's been so long I don't remember a lot of it, but basically it was a data gathering effort. And so that was cool because that job, I started with the team and started it from the ground up. So getting the telephones in, and we rented over in our building on the other side of the campus. So getting the office space going, getting the decorations up, getting the team hired and interviewed and in place, their W-2, all that it takes to hire a team. So that was very rewarding because they counted on me for a lot of this kind of stuff, So that's how my kind of adult life really shaped, and I just kind of settled in, was all through my years at Monsanto, then Bayer.
What did it take to be good at your job?
I would say utilizing what was offered. They were so good about offering anything that you needed as far as mentoring, classes, any extracurricular classes that you would want to take, an Excel class or it's been so long, but any time I needed help with anything as far as learning my job and getting better at it and getting recognized, because it's all about the results review at the end of the day, what they base your bonus on. So all the bosses that I had there looked for those kinds of things. What are you doing to grow? So I always took advantage of those kinds of things and was happy to have it so well supported. They were really good about that. Still are, I'm sure. Bayer might be, I don't know. I left 6 months after Bayer bought Monsanto, so I hear they're doing a lot of crazy stuff, lots of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I got to believe that they support people wanting to better themselves there. you know. So
So the last question, you told me that you're a grandmother. What's it like to be a grandmother?
well, thank you for asking. This is my husband's son, and it's his child. So it's not my son's child, but it's my husband's son. So I guess I like to be called, the new term now is bonus grandmother, bonus. So she's a doll. Her name's Aubrey. She's 19 months, and we have another one on the way. And I can tell you that it's very rewarding, and it just kind of speaks to the maternal instincts. But we babysat her day before yesterday for 4 hours. I've never been so exhausted in my life. Running around into everything. You love having them there, and it's very rewarding and all that, but then you're also happy to say bye-bye. Bye-bye. So yeah, it's my son has no desire to have children, but it's nice to have a bonus grandchild, and we've also made it clear that when the next one comes around, we're not going to be able to watch the toddler. Now Aubrey will be 2.5 at the time and a newborn, so don't count on that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but very rewarding at the same time, so.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming by to do this.
My pleasure. Really enjoyed it.